This stream is sponsored by IGK TAS, telemetry analysis system powered by IGK.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to League Racing TV for round number 8 here in TTML F2, a round which could well decide the destination of this season's championship, I should say, in F2. Zoidema could well take the glory here at the Circuit of the Americas. Round number 8 is the USA Grand Prix, and of course, it makes sense to have an American with me in the commentary box. My name is Luke Etheridge, and joining me as always on a Thursday evening is Pepsi Freak. Pepsi, how are you doing?
That's home sweet home for me here. Well, virtual home sweet home. It's a great place to be, a great country, you could say. And yeah, it's one of those dates I have circled on the calendar, and we could even have a championship celebration here. Makes it all the more sweeter that it could be a very fun race here today. And honestly, I think this and Japan were the two races I had circled, and we hope we can see a title battle here tonight.
Yeah, certainly. We'll briefly just show you what the championship situation is at this moment in time, because you might remember last week we thought Scott didn't do too bad, did finish in second place on track, however, got stung quite badly with 2 5-second penalties. With how close the grid was, that put him down into 9th. He is now 62 points behind Zoidema, and at the end of tonight, there are 62 points remaining. So basically, Scott has to beat Zoidema tonight. If Zoidema wins, the championship is over. If Scott or Carvin Rob win, the championship will definitely carry on to the next round. Nabor, Tibos, and even Tom LD can still stay in this championship battle, but we've said it for a while. It is now or never. We're now desperately at that point. Scott, even winning all 3 races, getting fastest lap in each, with the consistency that Zoidema has shown, it's probably not going to be enough.
I mean, if Zoidema crashes out this race, he gets 0 points, and let's say Scott wins, that's 62 minus 30. Let's say Scott gets the fastest lap as well. That's 31 points. And next thing you know, he's got to get 32 points in 2 rounds. He has to hope for some horrible liability issues or luck for Zoidema here today. And if he doesn't, and all Zoidema has to do is kind of just finish all right the next 2 rounds. He doesn't have to take any risks, and it will be his win and his championship. But it's never say never, and I've seen bad form happen before. Get a little over aggressive, take your foot off the gas, and it may end up costing you and biting you in the rear keister.
Yeah, certainly. The Constructors' Championship is quite a bit closer, actually, at this moment in time. As you can see there, Williams are on the top at the moment. Only 37 points ahead of Mercedes. So no matter what happens tonight, the Constructors will not be decided. Mercedes putting on some fantastic form in recent weeks. Double podium in each of the last 2 races has got them up to second. Red Bull still there as well. Alpine, Ferrari, even McLaren not too far behind as things stand at the moment, and still down at the bottom. Haas yet to score any points, and with no full-time drivers, it's very unlikely that they're going to score any points as well. We'll show you the track map, of course, of the Circuit of the Americas very briefly. As usual, DRS zones are going to be where we see the main overtaking opportunities. That turn 1 on lap 1, though, always provides excitement. The nature of the corner means you can get cars going 3, 4, even 5 wide into there. Hopefully, they'll all make it round cleanly.
Yeah, hopefully they can get all around cleanly as well. It looks like to be a dry qualifying at the very least. But just want to run over one more quick thing as well, is that Haas, they look so strong at the start of the season with their 2 drivers, and then just conflicting schedules. They didn't score points first race, and it's been all wrong for the American outlet. This being an American race, even though there's no Haas on the grid, sadly the virtual team can't score any virtual points for the virtual home country. A lot of virtuals in that sentence. But the other thing I do want to point out real fast is looking at some of the TTML leagues, we're not the only league that can have a clinch tonight. TTML Division 3 can also have a clincher as well. So there's 2 championships that could be clinched right at this moment. So very interesting, at least on the note on that as well.
Yeah, certainly. F3 can still have that title clinch tonight. F1 can't, and of course both of them are live at the moment. As you can see, unfortunately, it is a bit of a reduced grid lineup at this moment in time. So that might spice things up actually in qualifying. You might see if any drivers try to sneak their way into the top 10 on a set of the medium tyres. Should be a fairly straightforward soft-medium strategy on F1 2021. On previous games, it was a bit more different, but tonight, maybe it's just a night for drivers to try something slightly different. You might see, obviously, Scott Zoidema just try something a bit different to try and get that. If you can get top 10 on the medium tyres, that would be absolutely fantastic for your race chances.
Yeah, it would. If you can get in the top 10 of those tires, definitely gives you alternate strategies we can make it work. And honestly, with only 3 rounds left in the season, why not try something different? If you're a driver like Sway that's been kind of snake bitten the past couple rounds, try something different. Let's go aggressive here. What do you got to lose? You're kind of playing on the house money per se because you're not going to win the championship. You're not really going to win the constructors. So let's just go aggressive and try to get something out of here. Same thing with a lot of the drivers in this field that are looking to maybe get that last win so they can at least go into next season, whether it's in this division, a higher division, or a lower division. They can at least hold their hat high and say, hey, it may have been kind of a year, but at least we ended it on a high note.
Yeah, certainly. We are definitely at that point of the season now where drivers are just, like you said, they can just afford to just go for it. Tiny bit more, just try and get things absolutely right for them. Here, let's go on our first hot lap then. It is going to be Neymar taking it very steady around the final few corners to take us around this Austin circuit. First used Formula 1 in 2012, Lewis Hamilton taking his last victory for McLaren at this circuit. I wonder what happened to him after that as he now heads up the hill, this very steep hill on the run towards turn 1, braking late there. Very easy to overshoot ever so slightly, even despite the uphill nature. You just saw there Neymar running slightly wide. Now we're heading downhill through turn 2. This next part of the track, modelled on Maggotts Beckett's at Silverstone, and if anything, it can be even more difficult than that, as you can just see hugging that right-hand side of the curb there. Coming through the first sector time in 25.0 seconds, still carrying on through these S's, flat through turn number 9, very close to running wide. In fact, he does run wide there and quickly backs off his lap. So we'll see if we can head out on anyone else who's on a hot lap at this moment in time. The Aston Martin of Dressage just coming through that corner as well. He keeps it ever so slightly cleaner as he comes through turn number 10, now into 11. This can be an overtaking opportunity in the race. However, expect most drivers just to hug behind as you do, of course, head down this long back straight where you'll see a lot of the battling, a lot of the defending being done in this race. DRS open on that Aston Martin as he heads for the heaviest braking zone on this circuit, the hairpin at turn number 12. Very good line through there. Doesn't really take too much of the curb on the exit, just trying to keep it safe for now and avoid invalidating his lap. This section, the stadium-esque section, can see the drivers carry on battling side by side after they've been through turn 12. Dressage doing well to avoid locking up there at turn number 15. It's definitely one of the trickiest corners on this game. Now the triple apex right-hander, 16, 17 and 18. Stay over to the right-hand side of the circuit through 19. Not that much though, as you will end up invalidating your lap. Takes a bit of an IndyCar line there. And there we go, getting a lovely view of the pit lane exit. Already, we're seeing that track limits can prove to be very difficult around here.
It is very circular. I know that S section, that copy of Maggotts Beckett's, you could say it's very easy. If you get, it's kind of like reminds of Suzuka as well, where you have to get it right. And if your tires are worn, or it's a situation where the car isn't set up right, and you try to take it a little bit in or a little bit out, you either go too wide and get it rung up, or you'll cut it and you'll get rung up. So it's very easy. And I do see a situation where, like, just like Cannon for other tracks, it could be an easy track where if you're not careful, you're pushing a little bit too hard. Here comes 3, here comes 6, here comes 9, and you're really shooting yourself in the foot. So it is a little bit of a nutrition circuit, you could say, where you have to try to just keep yourself clean and keep your stuff as well, and keep your stuff clean. As now Dave goes for the first time that's competitive with a pole run on those softs. But what kind of interested me is when I was looking at the times here, Sway actually did a purple sector 1 on a set of mediums, but was instantly overshadowed by Zudima. But here comes Zudima coming on the last couple corners as well. Sway jumps up with a 133.650. I'm assuming the Williams driver will beat that, and it's going to be a 132.633, which is well over a second clear of the Alpine driver. So right now, the Williams driver is doing what he has to do to help himself in the standings and make this even closer to a clinch. Yeah,
Tibos just gets it wrong out the penultimate corner. I did reference that IndyCar line as Louis goes fastest of everyone. First time we've seen him this season, 132.086. Absolutely fantastic lap from the brand new reserve driver. Only, well, fastest in the middle sector he was, and fastest in the final sector. Fastest in the middle sector now is CPI Neymar. We've seen him get pole position a couple of times this season, yet to translate it to that first victory. 131.586. Every time we see a time which we think is blisteringly quick, it's getting smashed by about well, in this case, smashed by exactly half a second.
It makes me wonder if they're just kind of taking a survey in the S section. Like, as you get warmed up, you get more in focus and more in form, you could say. So I think it's a situation where I think Neymar took his first lap and kind of took it as a banker to get Justin and went hard in the second one. So I think it's a situation where I think Neymar's time is pretty fast, but I honestly would not be shocked if Rox, Zoiba, or even Scott, who's rocking the new white Red Bull, which is beautiful, even though it's kind of odd for it to go around Coda, but still a beautiful car. Actually, I wish it came out last week, would have been even more fitting in Japan. But regardless, yeah, he could even put down a time that's competitive as well. So I think that 131 is pretty locked right now, but honestly, we may see it fall just a little bit more, but I don't think anyone's going to break into the 130s.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, this white Red Bull was meant to be used at the Japanese Grand Prix, which got cancelled because of COVID-19, and that is why we saw it at the Turkish Grand Prix instead, in case you were thinking it was a bit weird for drivers to for Red Bull to be doing that tribute livery at a circuit that they've not really had too much history. Well, I say they've not had too much history at. Let's not forget 2010, where Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel got a bit too close for comfort, and it was the beginning of the end of their friendly relationship as teammates. Tibos dives into the pits then on his second run. Quite a tricky pit entry at this circuit. We have seen drivers, especially if they've got damage, get it wrong on the way in there and just understeer towards the barrier, which sounds a bit embarrassing, but it's easily done. You've got to try and push, obviously, and gain as much time at every single part of the track.
Yeah, it's happened to me as well, where it's on wet conditions where you just try to go as aggressive as you can, find as much time, and you just clip the wall just a bit, and you're kicking yourself. It's not the hardest pedaling, because there's other ones where you feel like you shouldn't speed and you speed. So it's a situation where it's more of not a speeding issue, but it's more of just a pride issue where you have to get an extra 3-5 seconds for body walk damage. But look at the times when almost everyone is coming in the pits right now, so they're calling it a lap. Dave's on a cooldown lap as well, so I think the only driver, Scott has just started a lap. We'll see where Sector 1 time currently is. He's at a 25:103, which is currently right around Lewis's Rock's time and Zoima's, but doesn't look anywhere close to Neymar, so he's going to have to pick it up a little bit in that white Red Bull. Other than that, we also got Tsunoda on a set of mediums, so we'll have to keep an eye on him in the Aston Martin. But I also think in his update, if I'm not mistaken, I think they may have changed some of the sponsorship positions on some of the cars as well, so at least Codemasters is updating certain things at the very least.
Yeah, certainly. You might notice when we go on board with the Aston Martin later, it's got some slightly different things on the halo. Scott heading around this turn number 12 now. As we said, where we'll expect to see the most of the overtaking. He'll be hoping that he can get ahead of Zoidema. A reminder, if he beats Zoidema tonight, the championship will go on to the next round. Let's see what Scott can do here. He's done a 37.1 in the middle sector, so he's about half a second off pole position. And if you are wondering how we do know about all these times, it is thanks to the IGK test system. You can use this yourself. Use !help in the chat and you will find out all the information you need about your favourite drivers. Now Scott heading around the final corner, then he's kept it clean at the moment, which is better than we could say for a lot of the drivers out the final corner. Slots himself into third place, crucially though ahead of his championship rival.
Yep, that's going to set the message that Zoima can go out there and has to maybe reset a lap. But like I said, it's a situation where Zoima, he has the cards in his hands. Right now, if you're Scott, right now, if you're Rob, you have to basically go metaphorically to the wall here because it's either put up or shut up. You don't have time to dilly-dally. If you're Zoidema, you don't want to take your foot off the gas. He is on an out lap, so we'll see what he does when he crosses the line here, starts his first lap. But it's a situation where he could take his foot off the gas, but it may throw him out of mojo. But at the same time, if he goes in the corner one too aggressive, and let's just say someone overlocks the corner, Grosjean's it in 2012, and he's now out of the race with damage, there goes 30 points at the very least. And like I said in the pre-race, it makes that gap very easy to close up. Instead of it being 60 or 50 points, it's now 30 with 2 rounds, and that's only 15 points, which is reasonable if form falls. Yeah,
certainly. You never know. Once bad mistakes start happening, if you have a slight bit of bad luck, as Dressage just invalidates his lap again, and you can see those aforementioned aerodynamics appendages, whatever you want to call them, those little winglets almost that are on the halo at the moment. I don't think halo-lets is a word. A shame that he invalidated. He was actually fastest of anyone in that first sector. Zoidema, though, absolutely smashes the fastest of anyone in the first sector. I think you were right, Pepsi. Definitely drivers just taking it easy, getting that banker in on their first run because they know there's going to be a lot of track limit penalties around Kota tonight. It is something you see quite often, first and final sectors especially catching out. All the drivers, could well be a safety car. There's plenty of heavy braking zones, could well be bad weather, and we'll actually check the weather. There isn't going to be any. It's going to be usually what you expect when you think of Texas. It is going to be nice and dry. Of course, we did see in 2015 rain in the race, Lewis Hamilton winning the title, and massive rain in qualifying, so much so that they actually had to hold the qualifying on Sunday morning. Zoidema at this moment in time, well, not fastest of anyone in the middle sector, but it does look as though this lap is going to get him into the 131s and probably knock Neymar off provisional pole position with 7 minutes remaining.
Looking at his times as purple sector 1, he's well over 3 temps up. Sector 2 is about the same as Neymar, so bearing a situation. But Neymar just did a purple sector 1. Even though it says it's purple, but it's technically slower than Soim does. But Soim right here comes across the line. That will be a pole run for him. It's a 131.497. So he held station in second and third at the very least. But he did have the fastest sector 1, though. So points to him. But Neymar is now on challenge as well. And it looks like he's close enough to improving. And look at his times right now. He's going to be in the 4 bracket as well. And it could be close if he holds the current pace. So we'll see where he is at the end of sector 2 here. It's going to come up right about here. We'll see where he slots up. And I think this could be an interesting run, and it's going to be, he's dropped a little bit of time, so it doesn't look like he's still on pace for pole position. Other than that, everyone else is, we got Rokes as well, going through the S section as well, and Sway as well, but we'll stay on board here with Neymar, as he's coming through the last, I guess, the 3rd sector here, and I think it could be a good run for the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, certainly, they have shown some good form. As we've said, Neymar's still trying to go. He said to me early on, I want that 2nd place in the championship. He knows the victory in the championship is going to require some incredible skill and some incredible bad luck for Zoidema, but he's going for best of the best and takes pole position for now. 131.421, fastest of anyone in the final sector. A personal best in the first, even if his middle sector wasn't exactly what he would have expected. Tibos has been validated a lap once again and has dragged it back into the pits off that set of medium tyres. Sway not improving at the moment. I imagine he's having invalidation. Louis, though, is going faster in that McLaren by about half a second at this moment in time. So if he nails it in the final sector, you never know here. We could see the McLaren take pole position.
I think it's going to be close. Looking at his times, yellow flag sector 2. I think it's the one of the Red Bulls. I think we have spun it, if I'm not mistaken. It looks dark blue on my screen. But here comes the McLaren. Coming through the last corners here. He's going to have to find as much time. Don't want to invalidate. It's very easy to go wide through the last corner. He's about half a second still in his times. It's going to be an interesting run. Will it be 1, 2, or 3? It's going to be... Ooh, it slowed up a little bit more in the 3rd sector there. It did cost himself some time, not an improvement. So he really saved some time off in that 3rd sector, and that probably cost him a chance at maybe being 1 or 2, even though I still think he may have been around the 5 bracket if that time would have held the pace he was going. But right now, something else worth noting is Scott, a little bit down the order, and Carway Rob still hasn't even left the pits yet with 4 minutes to go, and I don't think he has any penalties.
No, I believe the only driver who does have a penalty, a quali ban, I should say, going into this race, was AMG. He's got a quali ban for holding up Dave in qualifying, so not really the worst race to take up a qualifying ban when the worst you're going to be starting is 13th place. He is currently down in 12th at the moment. The 2 Red Bulls, we've seen great teamwork from them all season. We saw it again there, just coming down the back straight around half a minute ago. So this is going to get Charlie Harris his first time in the session. I think, like a lot of others, just going for a bit more of a comfortable banker lap. And yeah, does slot himself... actually did invalidate towards the end of that lap, unfortunately for him. Would have been good enough to get himself just behind his teammate at the moment. I'm sure he'll repay that slipstream in favour to Scott this time around. Needs to find 9/10 of a second to get pole position. Although, I know we've been saying they're in the situation of put up or shut up, and there's also the attitude of never giving up as he gets it horribly wrong coming through turn 2 there. Just hits the curb a bit too much, as we have had a retirement, and I believe that's Dave. Lost it on traction out of turn 1.
Yep, he lost the back end, it kicked out, and hit the inner wall, and that is the race done. Kind of an odd place to spin. You don't usually see it in that area per se, but it's also not technically not an entire place as well. I've seen people loop it, but not to that extreme, so a bit odd that took him out of the qualifying session, but at least he does have a time down, which you can say he's at least a little bit higher up the grid than some of the other field right now. But Charlie Harris has had up with 3 minutes to go, but he invalidated his lap, so this is another situation. If you're waiting till the very end, we know Desiree's been trying to put down a lap, and it's really not been working for him. But if we go through the rest of the field here, it's just kind of a situation where, why is Rob still haven't gone out? Why is AMG not gone out? Actually, I don't think AMG has penalty either, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, just wondering why it's a situation why they're not going out there and wasting all this clock, where it's a situation where it feels like a track where it takes more time to get rubbered up. So why you wait and not using this time to get some experience? Yeah,
certainly. I mean, Scott was slow in the first sector courtesy of that mistake, but he has actually gone a faster time in the middle sector at the moment. This might get him ahead of Sway and Sonoda now, who's shot himself up into 5th place. The Aston Martin driver looking for his first points of the season, which he will get if he finishes tonight. And Scott quickly bumps himself back up into 5th place, but not the lap he'd have wanted. And he's not got he's still got enough amount of fuel at the moment. If he keeps it tidier through his first sector this time, although he's not exactly pushing it, I think that is qualifying over for Scott, and 5th place is going to the best he can be. But he's got Dresse, who looked quick early on. He's got Tibos and Corwin Robb as well. He could find himself a long way down the grid here.
Yeah, he could, because we know Carly Robb can go fast. We know Charlie Harris' teammate is a little bit faster. So if Duresse can keep it clean, we know he can put down some alright times as well, but he's been really struggling. So it's a situation where he could easily be from 5th, 6th, 7th to 8th. I don't think Sonoda will jump because he did spin on his flyer lap, and he'll not have enough time, so he's safe at least ahead of Sonoda. And so, yeah, there's this easy chance. There's only 2 drivers, 3 that he'll be ahead of, so he could easily be ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Dresse has, well, he's kept it valid. He hasn't kept it clean, though. Slooping it round. Coming out of, I believe that is turn number 10. He's, well, just about to come into turn number 10, I should say. No damage to the car, and it might be worth him just taking a bit of a cool-down lap here if he's got enough fuel in and just carrying on, because at this moment in time, as long as he sets a valid lap, he's going to be ahead of AMG, so might as well try and do that, and who knows? Well, he'll be ahead of, well, might not be ahead of Charlie Harris, but there's plenty of others yet to set a lap time, so it is worth just carrying on out there and trying to keep it clean. Tibos has invalidated again, coming through that first sector. That is 3rd or 4th time now. And I'm surprised on at least one of these runs he didn't think, right, just take it a bit easier to guarantee you get yourself a lap in.
I think it's a situation where he wants to go all or nothing, because if he thinks that lap is slow enough to be in the 133 bracket or the 132 bracket, why not go all aggressive, because you know you're going to fall back anyway. But it's a situation where, again, you got 4 drivers that need to put down times. Dressere is going to be limping around to get some time on the board, but if Rob right now is on a flyer, he's not invalidated yet. Same thing with Charlie Harris, who's on and out laps as we speak. I don't think even Charlie Harris is going to make it to the line in time, so Charlie Harris will not put down a time. So the Ferrari, it's going to be interesting, but we also got some other flyers with Neymar and Stoima as well. So it's just a situation where I just wonder, again, sometimes strategy makes you think.
Oh.
As now Rob gets a tanker slapper, and he luckily keeps it clean, but that's going to hurt his time.
Yeah, his time was actually looking good enough to take pole position. I was about to say he's really performing under pressure there. Big tank slapper, but I don't think it cost him all too much time. Definitely at least half a second. Can he keep it clean through turn number 19? Does indeed. Very close to the white line. Coming through turn number 20, checkered flag is out. Corbin Robb heads towards the finish line. 3rd place.
Oh, that's a
despite
what
that
if.
massive moment, I think he'd have smashed pole position there. Zoidema has invalidated. Louis has invalidated as well. Zoidema was actually looking quick. Well, was a bit down in the first sector, but who knows whether he'd have actually managed to improve at any point. Following now with Neymar, and he's green and green in the first 2 sectors. This could be another pole position. It would be his 3rd this season, I believe, which is more than anyone. I think it'd be the first time this, well, 2nd time this season we've had a driver get 2 pole positions in a row. So Neymar now just coming through the final few corners, has still got a few cars behind him. Is this going to be good enough for the Mercedes driver to improve his lap? And he's invalidated coming out of turn number 19. Let's see what Sway can do in the Alpine. Not having a bad championship at this moment in time. This could be a slight improvement. Is it going to move him up the order at all? I don't think. There we go. 0.2 of a second does keep him in 5th place. Louis has invalidated and coming to pits, and it is Neymar. His second run, if he'd have kept it clean, would have been good enough for pole position. In the end, the earlier one was as well. That must give him some confidence. 131.421 puts him in 1st. Zoidema 2nd. Really impressive from Rob, though, to pull that time out of the bag. Yes, there's track evolution, but he only had 1 shot at it and did an absolutely superb job to get 3rd.
Situation just kind of when they're cold, it shocks me, because it's something where I never would have done that. I would at least took 1 banker lap, because that feels like it's too much pressure on 1 lap, especially when he's in a championship hunt where he needs everything to go right, and he just took 1 attempt at it. And maybe he just feels more comfortable doing that. But it's just kind of odd, in my opinion, that he tried it. But regardless, he almost had pull out of that. So, again, tip my hat, and we'll see what he does during the race. But, again, the big loser in this qualifying has to be Scott.
Yeah, certainly. And the big winner, perhaps apart from Neymar, look at Tibos starting 10th. Didn't set a time on a fresh set of tyres. And AMG starting 12th despite having a qualifying ban. As Dresse said, how to bottle 3 laps in qualifying. He'll be starting at the back of the grid. But it is Neymar, Zoidema, and Rob, your top 3. If the top 3 stays like that, that will be good enough to give Zoidema the TTML F2 champion. Louis starting 4th. Sway is 5th. Scott needs to work his way up from 6th. Sonoda, Tom, Dave, the only rest of the drivers to set a time. Tom actually doing his on the medium tyres might put him in good stead as well. And then Tibos, Charlie Harris, AMG, and Dresse failing to set a time in that qualifying session. It's gonna be interesting to see how the strategies work. It happens, I think, quite often when you've got a bit of a reduced grid. Drivers have to think a bit more about what they're doing in qualifying. Maybe that is why maybe that's why Tibos, I should say, was going to things so hard, because he knew on the timing charts he was in 10th anyway, and if he invalidated and the others behind him did, wasn't really going to affect him too much.
True. It's a strategy thing where it's a situation where maybe he's playing the long game. I remember in a league I did back in F1 2013. Yeah, I'm that old. But it's a situation where I ran the league, and it was a situation where it was only about 7, 8, 9 people that show up consistently. It was kind of in the dying days of the league. And it's a situation where I knew, look, why go out there and qualify and waste a set of tires when at worst I'm going to start maybe 6th or 7th or 8th, and I get a fresh set of rubber, and I know I got the pace to get up to the front. So it's a situation where let's just play. Let's play aggressive. Let's put the thing in my own hands and let's attack rather than and get different strategies rather than risk it and be farther in the back.
Yeah, certainly. You can't always got to try and play these situations slightly differently, as we've seen. Might as well, thinking end of the season, why not just enjoy myself a bit, seeing what I can do on that all-out pace. Maybe just pushing where you can push the track limits around this circuit. And of course, the circuit that we are going at, as you have seen, it is COTA, it is Austin for round number 8 of TTML F2, the United States Grand Prix, the 10th different circuit in the USA to host a Formula 1 race. The first one, of course, let's not forget the Indy 500 was a Formula 1 World Championship race from 1950 to 1960. The first ever United States Grand Prix was held at Sebring in 1959, where I believe Jack Brabham clinched for title there. We saw Lewis Hamilton clinch for title here in 2015 on this circuit. 5.513 kilometres, 20 turns with 2 DRS zones into turn number 12, and turn number 1 will provide the most overtaken action. As we said earlier, watch out for that first corner. It is bound to be chaos. 3 types of tyres that Pirelli have brought here, the C4, C3 and C2. Pirelli going very middle of the road with their tyre range for this circuit. As we now take a look at what tyres the drivers have gone for tonight, it is no surprise that everyone who had free choice is on a set of the mediums.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Going longer the tires, alternating strategies. The only way they'll be kind of messed up is if safety car comes out early. But yeah, that makes no sense at all. Even Tom actually put down like his first lap on a banker on a set of mediums and then didn't improve. So he'll also be on a set of mediums as well. So yeah, makes sense to try a set of mediums here. And I'm not against that idea. The only thing, again, that always honks back to my league racing days was a situation where if a car safety car comes out early, you really shoot yourself in the foot because either you have to go to the really hard tires or you have to hold on for another pit stop.
Yeah, that is always the risk that you take. Maybe again thinking reduced grid, less likely to be a safety car. Can Tom actually convert that set of medium tyres into his first podium of the season? It sounds ridiculous to say that a man who can still mathematically win the title with only 3 races remaining hasn't had a podium yet. His best finish was last time out with a 4th place in Japan. He'll be looking to see what he can do, as of course will Zoidema. He knows, doesn't have to worry about Neymar winning as long as he finishes 2nd. That would be good enough if Neymar wins to take the title. If Rob or Scott win, we'll be going on to the next round. This is going to be interesting to see how all the different drivers play it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the different drivers can play it because again, like I said, different drivers have different strategies this late in the season. So again, being so far in the end, some drivers, they know they're out of the championship hunt. If you're Lewis, for instance, you're a rookie. You're not going to really do much here, so why not just have fun and try to impress yourself or get yourself some mobile going the next season? Well, if you drive like Zoidema, Rob, or Scott, you still have a championship to think about. So different strategies for different folks.
Yeah, different strokes, different folks. All the drivers now onto the grid. Dresse in last place. As we wait for the lights to come on here at COTA, we have got 5 lights. And we're underway then for the American Grand Prix. And it's a great start from Zoidema, straight away shooting himself up the order already. Miles ahead into turn 1. What a start by Zoidema's gone way too deep. Contact between Neymar and Zoidema. Scott's had an absolute screamer. Gets himself up into 2nd place. Carwin Robb now trying to go all the way around the outside of the Williams driver. Great start by him as well. Only actually holds himself in 3rd place. Louis lost a position as well. We've got Sonoda and Tom battling further back. Tom not doing too bad despite being on those medium tyres. Ignore that suggested strategy. This will be a 2-stop race as long as everything stays nice and clean and we don't have any safety cars. We've now got Louis all over the back of Zoidema. We saw the Williams not get the best start last time out, and we thought here he'd actually got a really good start as Sonoda's thrown one up the inside of the rookie, the Aston Martin and the McLaren. It's going to be a straight drag race. Mercedes power versus Mercedes power, and it looks like Louis has got the better exit there. You've got Tom not too far back either. We might be able to go 3 wide here into turn 12 on the first lap of the race. Tom thinks about a move around the inside, can't quite pull it off, and his teammate has to yield to Sonoda there. But Neymar had a bad start to the race. It looked like Zoidema had hooked everything up absolutely perfectly. then just outbreaks himself into turn 1 and finds himself down in 4th place. And as we check the TAS system, luckily for him, doesn't have any front wing damage.
I was going to say, I checked the TAS system as soon as that happened. There was no damage, even though they both kind of got nice little shots in there, and both survived it with no damage. So even Rob got in a little bit of a scrap with NSC Sonoda. And another situation I just saw is right now we got Sonoda battling Lewis hard for that position in 5th, because they just banked wheels going into the end of Sector 2, and they almost collided, as it looks like the McLaren driver is going to try to stick it up the inside of Sonoda. No love lost. Wheel on side pod. Can the McLaren driver hold it around the inside? He's going to try it, but he's not going to be able to clear. And there could be a situation where they go, you think he'll clear, but the S section, Sonoda, who will back down? Will Sonoda try to live the fight another day, or will he hold it? He will at least luckily back down, because it's too early to go side by side through the S section. As it looks like Luce almost kind of goes a little bit too slow, and almost Sonoda runs to the back of him. But the other thing I do want to bring up, though, is looking at it, is Scott. We said he was kind of losing qualifying. He kind of just low-key sneakily brought his way up to the field there. Next thing, he's in 2nd right now, even though he qualified in 7th.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a fantastic start from Scott. As you said, gained 5 positions, got a good start, and then all the paths just sort of opened up for him there. He's gained 4 places. Tom's gained 2 on his medium tyres, which is very impressive. Sway, the biggest loser on that first lap of the race, although he now looks to actually get past Sonoda. I wonder whether Sonoda's gone for a bit more of a downforcey setup, because he seems to be struggling all of a sudden. He's had 3 cars get past him on this lap. Louis, Tom, and Sway. So that is now Sway up into 7th. Tibos, his teammate, staying in 10th place. First car on that fresh set of medium tyres. Let's not forget Tom's medium tyres. He was on 4 qualifying as well, as Sway and Sonoda are still having this battle. All this battling that we have seen in the midfield means the top 4 have been able to get away ever so slightly. The gap between Zoidema and Louis is about 1.5 seconds. Yeah,
it's a situation where scrapping has cost some time. It looks like Lewis is finally able to get away. Sonoda, I think, kind of lost touch from it, as also Tom was able to get around. So that may allow him to chase up, because now sits fast enough the race. But remember, he did get 3 for invalidating, so he's racking up those penalties real quick, as Rob has caught the back of Scott, and he is pulling the championship points leader with him. So again, it's shades of maybe Britain, where Rob and Scott may be battling. And again, they may have to work for the greater good here, because they know if Zoidema gets around them, it's over. It's curtains. If that Williams finishes ahead of them, no matter where it is on the grid, it's most likely curtains for the most part for their championship hopes. So it's a situation where they need to kind of just, again, work together at the very least, and maybe cause Zoidema a little bit of a headache. But other than that, something else I'm kind of noticing, maybe it's just on my screen, but everything seems a little more dusty. I noticed that going off in the corner 1, it seemed like there was a lot of dust kick up for some weird reason. But maybe that is just something I'm imagining. But just thought to bring that up to air and see if I'm not the only one noticing that.
Yeah, I thought I saw it on this straight right now, actually. Especially when the drivers were going offline ever so slightly. They're all just following the line this time around on that run down towards turn number 12. They got Sway's managed to get past Sonoda as well. Straightforward DRS pass. Plenty of battling in the background. Dresse just getting ahead of Dave, who did start higher up the field on that set of the soft tyres, and is perhaps just starting to struggle as Dresse goes slightly deep there. Again, a bit of contact between the Alfa Romeo and the Aston Martin. We've seen plenty of wheel banging already in this race. Thankfully, though, no damage in these early stages. And at the front of the field, it does look like we are getting perhaps round number 3 of Carwin Rob versus Scott. It happened, as you mentioned, at the British Grand Prix. It happened last time out at the Japanese Grand Prix. In fact, that is why Scott got both of his penalties were for collisions with Rob. It was 2 5-second penalties that were reported by Rob. Are we going to see a third round of fisticuffs between them? And if that happens this time, as you said, it could well be curtains for their championship battle. All staying, though, very close to the back of Neymar. And Louis, he has got that 3-second penalty, but he's keeping that gap at this moment in time. If he can close within a second and get that DRS, that should help him get onto the back of these guys.
Only thing I wonder is how much of that is he's overly pushing, because the situation where I think maybe he's pushing a little bit too hard. And again, he may be racking him up. So yeah, he may make, as he goes a little bit wide there, he may be making good time, but if he pushes too hard to try to stay to the pack, he may end up getting him 3, 6, 9. I think he's even got a flat spot in those tires. So it's a situation where you got to push, stay close, but it's also kind of minimize your damage, because he's well over 2 seconds clear of his teammate. So you want to be up there fighting the top 4, but it's a situation where, as it looks like Scott, cut my thought off here, is going around Neymar on the inside using the DRS, and a little bit of a lock by Neymar. It's also going to allow Rob to try to sneak on in as well. He saw an opportunity to make it a possible 2-pass on Neymar, but not going to be enough. Luckily, they do touch, but no damage. But Rob has to be a lot more conservative, even though he knows his driver that is very, very aggressive on his overtakes.
Yeah, Rob just trying to take advantage of that little door that opened there. Neymar perhaps not expecting it, perhaps thinking, there's no chance you're getting past me there, sunshine. And there we go. Neymar now into second place. Scott in the lead of this race, exactly where he needed to be. Yet to get a victory. Again, we said it's amazing that Tom's still in the championship hunt and yet to get a podium. Scott's second in the championship, yet to get a victory. Second in Austria, third in Silverstone. His two best results. Leading this race at the moment. Did look as though Neymar was struggling a bit more at the start of his race. It does seem like his early race pace can just sometimes let him down ever so slightly. Did lose a few places in Suzuka. And then, of course, we saw the safety car happen. Went for the hard tyres alongside his teammate for the rest of that race. But now that he's got the DRS, he might be able to just recover ever so slightly. Scott, though, doing a really good job on his ERS management at this moment in time. He is on 87% at this moment in time. Zoidema in the 90s as well. Neymar with 40%. Carvin Rob hovering in the mid-60s.
Yeah, something else that really, you brought up that stat, he has not won a race. Something else that really kind of shocks me is that he has bested Harry and Kaiser in the Sprint League, which is on Sundays, by the way. Shameless plug, I know. But it's a situation where he's bested them in the Sprint League and he's even won a race there. And if I'm not mistaken, Harry's currently leading the championship. Yeah, he is in TTML F1. So he's able to win against the driver that's currently in the top division, currently in the championship, but can't win a race in his own tier, which is very odd and kind of very weird on its own. I know the Sim League's a little bit more for fun per se, but you still would think that success in one should transfer over to success in the other.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is that Scott perhaps races no assists all the time, and he's more used to it. And of course, maybe Harry and some of the others only race no assists on the Sim League. Next season, of course, F1 will be a no assist league, and I believe Scott has actually signed up for that, and we'll be promoting that a bit more at the end of the stream. But for now, let's focus on what's happening in season number 5. Never mind season number 6. Neymar all over the back of Scott this time around, using a bit of that electrical energy, using his DRS, and I think he's going to go for this move down into turn 1, late on the brakes there from Neymar. Gets that position, and Rob's going to try and chuck his nose down the inside as well. Can't quite get far enough alongside, but these three just battling all the time, and Zoidema quite happy at the moment to stay a bit further back, and because we've had all this battling, that has brought Lewis right into the fray.
Yeah, he caught up as soon as that move with Rob and Neymar, that allowed him, because it was a little bit of a accordion effect where Zoidema, I had to think of his name for a second, backed up a little bit, and that caused Rob to get within a second. So that actually allowed the 5th place car to get within a touch, and it's a 5-car breakaway because Tom is 3 behind and Sway is 3 behind him. But Sway, it's like Tom's in an island of his own right now because Sway has got a train behind him, and the top 5 are in a train. So Tom's kind of in the situation where it's what you want to be as a race car driver, alone, no pressure, but he's not leading the race, so he's kind of in the middle. So we do got to pass for the lead here again. Is Scott going to repass Neymar for the lead? And Rob, he needs to be patient. He can't get pokey, because if he gets too pokey, he may end up either wrecking himself, get himself an unnecessary penalty, or just cost us some time. Because it looks like he's thinking about doing something on Neymar here. He's sensing it. He needs to be a little bit more patient, but how should I tell him how to drive?
Yeah, I think he does feel like he doesn't want to let Scott get away. Maybe not just for the top of the championship and winning that, perhaps more just for their own little personal battle. As we've said, they've been so close on so many different occasions this season. His teammate Charlie Harris managed to get ahead of Sway last time around this battle. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, with 11th and 12th not too far away either. I believe Dave has made a slight mistake. He was ahead of AMG and he is now 3 seconds back. So we are starting to see maybe those drivers struggle a bit more on the soft tyres as Neymar's going to think about a move into turn 1 again. Late on the brake, sends it into turn 1, gets it. Stopped in time, courtesy of Isaac Newton, I think, a bit there on a flat part of the circuit. You'd be heading... Whoa! Contact! Contact! Neymar loses it on the curb, out of the race, and he's taken Scott with him as well.
Oh no, and Scott's lucky he's still in this race there. That may be a safety car if he's lucky. It's not going to trigger a safety car. All I saw, I was riding on board with Rob, and it's a situation where the back end just kicked out, and that was that. That was not even like a, you could say, race incident. He just lost the back end, and Scott just happened to be there. If Scott was just a little bit more clear, that would have just been Neymar only, and that just sums up Scott's luck this season, as I truly will test the TAS system right now. It's a situation where, yeah, he doesn't have damage from that, luckily, but he's so far behind the 8 ball that he's going to need a miracle for something to come up, and that could be curtains, because now, I'm not going to say it's curtains yet, because it's still a long race, but it's a situation where Neymar just threw himself away. Basically, any chance of him jumping Zoidema's done, and that probably takes him out of championship consideration. Scott's currently 11th, and with Zoidema right now just behind him, but with a gap of 5 points, my map states that I think Rob is 65 behind right now, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check that when I'll quickly do a check in a second. But it's a situation where right now, I still think Zoidema could maybe clinch, finishing second behind Rob.
Just having a quick look at it, if things stay as they are at this moment in time, with the fastest lap currently going to Louis, the gap at the end of this race would be 60 points. So, not quite there, but almost there. We're talking 18th placed finish would secure Zoidema the championship if things stayed as they were at another circuit. But we just saw how easy it is. We saw earlier on in qualifying, Scott got very close to the curb, almost had a massive spin, and that time around it was Neymar, just loses it on the curb, has to correct. Scott is next to him. Quite often when you see on this game, it's the car on the inside is the one that loses it at those high speeds. Enough momentum to cause both cars to spin off. Neymar retires from the race as Scott, a long way down the order, just has to try and reset himself and fight his way up. It's good news for some runners on the medium tyres. One of those, of course, is Charlie Harris. He's now got himself ahead of Sonoda. Now that the field's spaced out ever so more, this might help those on the alternate strategy. They're not going to get caught up in as many DRS trains later on when they're on their faster soft tyres.
Yeah, Tom, especially on a set of mediums as well, definitely got open track, so could use it when he has to pit for a set of softs, so he's kind of getting in a world of his own. But just to go off one more thing about that crash with Scott, it's kind of a little bit of a weird omen, you could say, that the car that has the arigato on the back, it means, yeah, thank you, had the little bit of an accident there. It's just kind of odd that just special scheme heavy had a bad race. But anyway, though, again, Rob Quinn leads the way, and again, with so much spacing, it's a situation where, again, different strategies could play out, but don't tell that to Sway and Sonoda, as they are still fighting, like on lap 1, basically. They're still fighting for, I would say, the 7th, 8th position.
Yeah, still fighting for 7th, 8th. You can tell that the mediums now looking like the tyres to be on. Tibos has got ahead of these. AMG and Dresse all over the back as Charlie Harris picks up a 3-second time penalty. It's only 3 seconds at the moment for Louis and Charlie Harris. When will we start seeing the soft runners come into the pits? Sonoda goes a tiny bit deep ever so slightly. Has still got the DRS, interestingly enough, and he's got plenty of ERS as well. He might still be able to hold on to this as Dave becomes the first driver to come into the pits. AMG and Sway both think about a move, then decide discretion is the better part of Valor for now, although it's a good exit out the corner from Sway. Just can't do anything at this moment in time, and now Sonoda loses it on the curb. Thankfully, though, no contact this time. He drops down 2 places, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare for Dresse, who's going to have to spend this S section stuck behind his teammates.
Yep, it's going to be a situation where he's going to have to kind of just bide his time and make it work. But someone else that's going to be caught in this train is Scott, who is now probably driving like a man possessed, very angry in the cockpit. Sonoda just takes out the DRS, the DHL board there. Hopefully, remerge is correct. It doesn't take any out of the braking markers, though, so luckily no drivers will give him too much pain for that. But yeah, considering Sonoda's on the older softs, Dresse being ahead of him is definitely an odds right choice here. Is now Scott going to try to hang around the inside here, going to make his first move in his recovery drive here. Can he pass the I would say the Japanese driver, but that's just Sonoda's really the only thing that makes him Japanese other than his non-nationality. But he's going to try to make it up a 2-piece on the Alfa Romeos, and he's going to end up losing 2 spots. Well, I guess go back to where he was. So a situation where he got maybe a little too aggressive and may allow Sonoda to get around his teammate again. It's going to be side by side by the Aston Martins, and he doesn't want to be in an Aston Martin civil war, you could say.
Well, forgetting how worn his tyres were ever so slightly. Apologies if there was a slight sound issue there with the stream. Sonoda dives into the pits then. Lap number 10. He's getting rid of his soft tyres. Might not come out ahead of Dave because we've seen how heavy the drivers have been battling as well. Rob and Zoidema and Louis at the front of the race just carrying on that tiny bit longer. Interestingly, Sonoda coming out on the hard tyres. Clearly not confident that the mediums will make it.
Looking at the remaining distance, he theoretically could probably make it on the remaining distance, so he's probably going to try to make it a one-stop to the end, but again, he's so far back, it's nothing really to lose. He was just in the back of that train, so why not try something different?
Yeah, certainly might as well. Like you said, just try something slightly different. Who knows? If there's a late safety car, he might be able to get away with using those hard tyres, and the mediums on the others will really be struggling. Zoidema down the inside of Rob then takes the lead of this race. He's got so much more ERS than the Ferrari as well. Zoidema into the lead of this race. We'll check the tyre wear from both of these cars at the moment. He's got much better tyres as well than the Ferrari driver. That might be able to take him a lap or 2 longer, lose out on an undercut, but be lightning fast at the end of this race. So I wonder whether we'll see Karin Rob. He looks to be eating through his tyres pretty heavily at the moment. You can just see him running wide through their sways. Absolutely cooked. He's been stuck in dirty air, I think, for quite a lot of this race. And there we go. Both the lead 2 cars into the pits then, and it is Louis now who takes the lead of this race.
I'm actually shocked Zoidma came in there. He was at 48.6% wear at his highest, while Rob was at 58. So it's a situation where it's about a 10% gap. So it's a situation where I get why Rob came in, because you have to come in now. Those tires definitely are going to be struggling. But with Zoidma, I think he could have went another lap or two, especially considering he had 100% ERS coming off that last straight, while Rob coming out of pit lane is only going to be at 64. Zoidma was really saving along with him and Louis as well, really not using their stuff. So it's a situation where I think Zoidma maybe, again, playing conservative, just blocking the situation where he knows maybe Rob was going to come in this time or next time by, just covering his bases, and maybe not letting the undercut happen. But honestly, he probably could have went 1 or 2 more laps, burned a lot more of that ERS, and really probably still come ahead of Rob.
Yeah, I'm surprised. As that was the lap, he was coming into the pits. I'm surprised he didn't perhaps use a bit more of that electrical energy, just to try and burn it up from the ERS system, get a bit further away, and then come into the pits. But still, leading out of those that have been into the pits at the moment, only one car that is on the set of the soft tyres at the moment, and that is Louis, and it is a McLaren 1-2. As things stand at the moment, Tom, who started in 8th place on a used set of the mediums, has just struggles with a bit with traction there. He's losing quite a lot of his ERS as well as further down the field. AMG had a bit of a slow start to this race, now starting to work his way up the order, up in 4th place like his teammate, 2 podiums in a row. Unlike his teammate, he's out of this race. Well,
yeah,
his teammate's
indeed.
out of this race, of course. Neymar win that accident earlier on. Serious question we've got here from AK47. Thank you for joining the stream. Is this a game over real condition? It is a league. This is F1 2021. It is a league race, of course, and if you want to join, you can find more information in the description about the Discord, Twitter and Instagram, as now the final soft runner comes into the pits. The McLaren crew do their work. Medium tyres going onto Louis' car, and I think we're going to see the power of the undercut around this circuit. He's going to come out, I think, quite a long way behind Zoidma and Rob.
Yeah, we'll see here how it's going to work here. We'll see. This could have been a situation where they slot up, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. Rob's going to get by. Really, it's actually not as bad as we thought it was going to be with Louis. He's going to be right in the back of Rob and Zoidma. He's going to have 1 lap fresher tires. So, again, situation where, again, that's where I think Zoidma, if he uses ERS, probably could have been ahead of this train. So, again, and have fresher tires. But, again, different strokes for different folks. Meaning the top 5 right now still have to pit. And, per se, because our mediums are going to go with a set of softs, try to make it a wonder here. But anyway, just to kind of finish up my point, I guess I was having a point somewhere around here. Yeah, now Sway gets 3 multiple warnings here. I think, again, it's going to be a 3-car race for the end, and it's still all to play for at the very least. It looks like Zoidma may get held up a little bit by Dressere, which could maybe allow Rob to sneak on by if the pick works. Yeah, let's not forget, of course, that is going to give Zoidma the DRS, so he just sails on by, and I think Rob will want to get that move done as soon as possible as well. And Louis, he's lost a bit on this lap. Still have a DRS, but he's now stuck behind Dressing. Running for the circuit, and Zoidma's gone deep again, like he did on lap 1. Rob retakes the net lead of this race. These two are now going to go wheel bang in. It's almost like Ricardo and Vettel, where Vettel had that spin, let's not forget, in 2018. This time the Ferrari does come out better than his rival. Rob up into 5th place again. Just a tiny little mistake there from Zoidma. Went slightly deep. Perhaps first time round with DRS on these tyres, not quite used to where the braking zone was, gets it slightly wrong. He's down into 6th place. Rob back into the net lead. Yep, Rob has to win this race, like I said, to have any sort of chance. And now since fast up the race, he's doing everything he has to, but he needs, like, Louis to get past Dressere and put some pressure under Zoidma. And actually, now I remember what I was going to say. When you brought up Neymar, they're looking good at the very least, possibly get some good championship indication points to try to get closer to the Williams, because they had 2 against 1. With Neymar now getting no points, and Zoidma going to probably, no offense, when the top 5 pit will come out ahead of AMG. It's a situation where the Williams will most likely extend its gap again on the constructors, and I don't think it's a clinch situation yet, but we could also be talking about a clinch maybe next week with the Williams maybe getting the constructors as well, which I don't want to be mean to his teammate, but it's been kind of basically a 1.5-man operation, you could say, where Zoidma has really carried that team to glory.
Yeah, certainly. He's done an absolutely fantastic job, you've got to say. Let's not forget, TDB, he's had a victory this season at the Austrian Grand Prix, but apart from that, things haven't really gone to plan for him. Rob not bothering to defend too much this time around, probably in both of their interests, just to keep swapping him out, get the DRS, save a bit of fuel at DRS. There's almost contact at the exit of the corner. I was going to say, I'm not sure you want to be battling too hard at this part of the circuit, because you're just going to wear your tyres down, wear each other down as well, and make it slightly better for drivers like Louis, who has dropped back, but can still catch up. He's still on for perhaps a podium on his debut here. And let's not forget, further up the field, those on the alternate strategy. Tom leading this race by 5.3 seconds from Charlie Harris. AMG is currently 8 seconds off the lead of this race. Zoidema and Carmen Robb 11 seconds off the lead at the moment. Probably another 3 or 4 laps before we start to see those medium runners come in.
Yeah, they're going to go long in the tooth here and try to make it work. So it's a situation where if you don't blame them, that's their strategy. And we'll have to wait and see how far back they can come and how close they can get. But there was such a big gap when the soft roaders pit that they're probably not going to be able to get to that front pack bearing a safety car, which I think a handful of drivers would want. But with the field being so, I would not say spaced, because we do got Zoidema and Rob fighting, but that top 5 is all pretty spaced out. So it's a situation where even when they pit, they'll be pretty spaced out as well. So a safety car may not be likely, and they'll have to try to just chase down the little softs.
Yeah, Zoidema trying to use a bit of ERS there, and I don't think he's bothered too much about defending from Rob this time around. It was all about getting within the DRS range of Tibos to make that defence slightly easier. I know perhaps not the most sentence that made sense there, but just trying to make it slightly easier for him. Is he going to be close enough to Tibos, though, to have a go here into the hairpin? It looks like he is going to do so down the inside, and Rob, a bit further back, might find it harder to get this move done. He's going to have to be very careful here. When we saw how it's affected Louis, dropping a tiny bit further behind, this could be exactly what Zoidema needed here. He's got a car in between himself, and as it stands at this moment in time, the only person who looks like he's going to stop him winning the championship today, and already you can see that Williams just starting to get away. The Ferrari of Carmen Robb just stuck in the dirty air. Look at the understeer. He's got through 17 and 18 there, and the gap between Zoidema and Robb has gone up above a second.
Yep, that Williams is definitely going to send a Christmas card to Tibos right now, who, even though Tibos was looking like a championship contender right now, is kind of setting a pick for the Ferrari. And by the time he does get around here, he'll do it very aggressive, because he knows that's his championship hopes, just going away in the distance. He'll get around him here, and so will Lewis. He'll even be able to catch up as well, Louis or Lewis, depending on pronunciation. But Rox, will say, is also catching into the back of the Ferrari as well. And it's now 1.3 seconds, and luckily though, Zoidema is catching AMG, so maybe AMG can be a little bit of a pick as well, depending on the situation he catches them. But Ferrari has to quickly rebound now, or, again, Zoidema, this is his championship.
Yeah, certainly, he's looking pretty good at this moment in time, is Zoidema, but still a long way. We are only halfway through the race, still a lot of drivers to do their pit stop, and there is Zoidema all over the back of AMG, just runs a tiny bit wide, almost gets it on the grass there. Look at all the dust he's kicked up out of that part of the circuit. Should still be a fairly straightforward pass on AMG. Might have to do it a bit further into the braking zone than what you expected. But yeah, again, AMG not proving too much of a obstacle to pass for Zoidema at the moment. He gets himself up into 3rd place. Next car, 1.7 seconds ahead of him, and it is Charlie Harris. And as we said, for the cars that will pit onto the soft tyres, so Tom, Charlie, AMG, Tibos, and Dresse, the field is fairly stretched out, so they're not going to get stuck in DRS trains. Of course, that's not the case for Zoidema and Carmen Robb. The field is fairly stretched out, and Zoidema's just able to pick off these cars one at a time with relative ease, and it's not really costing him too much time.
Yeah, he's able to just kind of bide his time because he knows he's got the fast tires to make it work. But I was just taking a quick look at the incident report here, just to see if any chance Zoidema is close to getting one, or Rob. Rob has 1 warning, while Zoidema has none. So it's a situation where, right now, again, they're not really close enough, as it looks like Carweb has really caught back up to the Williams. So it's a situation where game is back on, but bearing Rob going pedally crazy with Zoidema, it's going to be a straight dogfight on the track, with Louis' time penalty going to probably take him out of contention.
Yeah, and Rob has just picked up a time penalty as well, so that is really bad news for his championship hopes. It's all starting to come together now for Zoidema. He knows he just has to keep it clean, and things are looking like he could get himself a victory in this race as AMG picks up a penalty. It is only Zoidema. Scott, I think it's going to be the big what if of this race. What if Neymar hadn't had that moment on the curb, and then obviously slid into the side of Scott, complete passenger in that. Sonona doing a good job as well, keeping it clean. At this moment in time, though, he is down in last place, but would still get his first points of the season. And like you said, Rob has done a fantastic job closing up to the back of the Williams. Maybe that's why he was pushing so hard, and maybe that's why he got a penalty, as well as Louis now gets past F1 AMG, the McLaren driver. Apart from those first few laps where he was very wild on penalties, he's having a very solid race here.
He is. Yeah, I can have no complaints. He's having a very solid race, and he should be proud of his performance. Definitely making it work, and we'll have to wait and see how it shakes out, but he's definitely on pace to get a good finish here. As, again, I'm kind of shocked some of the media still haven't pulled in yet, considering that Dressray and Tibos are falling so far along with AMG. You think they would probably pull in sooner rather than later, considering that Dressway's at 70% tire wear, Tibbles is 72, AMG's at 59, Charlie Harris at 63, and Tom is at 63 as well. And they're just kind of burning daylight as now Zoidema gets past Charlie Harris. And I'm assuming the Red Bull's going to get, the Ferrari going to try to go as well. Going to try to make a two-piece here, so not going to be enough to really make it work. It was never really going to happen, but at least thought about it. But yeah, I'm just kind of shocked that the meat burners still haven't pitted yet, per se. I think they're trying to make it 10 laps on the tires and make it into that window. But considering that some of them have a really bad fall off, you think they would jump in sooner rather than later. As Dressway now comes in.
Yeah, Dressway has come into the pits and got rid of his older medium tyres. First man to come in to the pits for a set of the softs. Going to have to do 12 laps onto them. I think that is going to light the blue touch paper, and we are going to see a few more drivers coming to the pits. Dressway comes out behind his teammate Aston Martin. Are 9th in the championship, but they do have both of their drivers running at this moment in time, so just perhaps a small bit of mercy for them now. Rob versus Zoidema. On track, at least. I think these two are going to have an absolutely fantastic battle, but unless Zoidema gets a penalty, there's not going to be a lot Rob can do about it. Straight down the inside he goes, and look at this, Charlie Harris. He's thinking about it as well. He might be on the older tyres, but he knows if he can battle and just hold these guys up, you never know what can happen in the championship. Oh, contact. I think there. I'm not sure what's happened. I think Louis has gone straight into the back of the Red Bull.
Yeah, Louis did hit the back of Charlie Harris. I almost said Christmas for some reason. Don't know why. But Louis, yeah, ran the back of him. That's going to cost him some time. It doesn't look like he's got damage. No, he does. He has a broken left wing, so he is going to be limping down the pit lane. And that is not what Carly Rob wanted to see. He needs someone to fight Zoidema. And now that Louis is basically taken out of contention and there's a big enough gap, it's 2 horses to the end. And so Rob has to try to clear by 3 seconds. But I say this almost every week. At what point, if you're Zoidema, why fight? You're going to have Charlie Harris come to pit within the lap. Your next closest competitor is going to be probably Tomid, who's coming out of the pit lane as we speak. Maybe AMG, even though he's pitting as well. So it's going to be Tomid, who's 10 seconds behind. So if you're Zoidema right now, all you have to do is stay within 3 seconds. Back off, 1.5, 2 seconds maybe, and the championship's yours. There's legitimately no reason to fight Rob or even get in the dukes with him. Because you got no pressure from behind. Let Rob conform to you. But obviously, as race car drivers, you want to fight for every position you have on track. But it just doesn't make sense for him to fight even at all. Just back it down once Harris pits and limp it home, and you will be fine.
Yeah, so in that situation, if you're Rob, do you try almost 2016 Abu Dhabi, Hamilton versus Rosberg? Just slow the pace right down and say to Zoidema, look, I want you to overtake me, and then I'm going to try and fight back past you again, just to maybe force you into getting a penalty situation here, because he will be able to ask Jeff for certain questions, and Jeff might tell him how many warnings Zoidema has got at the moment. He has actually now picked up his first warning of the race, and as for tyres wear, you never know, it doesn't take long to just run wide ever so slightly, but he's got to try something, because if things finished at the end of this lap, if things finished as they were, Zoidema would jump ahead of Rob, and that victory would be enough to give him the TTML title here. But 10 and a bit laps to go, drivers on the alternate strategy possibly coming up. Who knows what could happen? And actually, Scott, at this moment in time, he's got himself up into 5th place. That is going to become 4th position all of a sudden. If there's a safety car, he might not be out of this.
No, I don't think he's out of it yet. He needs a safety car or something, or it needs his car Rob just to back him up. Because even if Rob tries to back him up, we got Tomid, who's about 7 seconds behind. He'll be flying because he's on tires. Actually, 9 now. He's 9 seconds behind. I don't think you can back up a driver a second a lap without the driver passing you. And considering that Carway Rob's on 29% tire wear, while Zoidema's at 23, we do have the yellow flag sector 3, as it looks like Dave kind of went wide, almost hit the pit lane. No safety car, no nothing, as Desiree gets fast off the race. So maybe a little bit of a false positive. And it doesn't look like Rob's even going to try to back it up. So it's a situation where if you're Rob, you got to try something. But is there any logistic strategy where he can even get Zoidema back enough to feed him into Tom or Scott?
I think it's more about just backing him off, letting him overtake you, and then thinking, right, we can have a bit of a battle here, because maybe there, if he just re-overtakes Zoidema, unless Zoidema then thinks himself, no, after you, sir, and if they both start getting into that mood, then that'll help Tom catch up ever so slightly. And if
it's 9 seconds though, that's the only thing I'm thinking. Like if it was 3, yeah, but 9 seconds. He is on fresh softs, but I just don't think. I mean, we're gonna come to this with 9 to go, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a situation where it seems plausible, but Zoidema really can just back it down and he no real threat. So Rob would have to back it down so much slower because of that 3-second time delay. So I honestly I don't even think that's a feasible option. So I really just think Zoidema is the cat that ate the canary. And honestly, bearing him crashing, I don't see really any way he can screw this up.
we'll have to wait and see how things go. 9 laps remaining. Tom, fastest lap of the race. I mean, last lap around, he gained 2 seconds on the front duo. Admittedly, freshly soft tyres, they are going to go off ever so slightly. He's not going to keep it up at that pace. I think he might get within, in a normal situation, he might get within 2 or 3 seconds here. We'll have to wait and see how things go, because Zoidema is, of course, getting with DRS as well, so that allows him to save a bit of electrical energy. He's stuck in dirty air. That uses up his tyres ever so slightly, but that's what you have to cope with. That is dirty air in modern Formula 1. He just has to try and deal with that at the moment, and I think he knows that he doesn't want to get dragged into a battle with Rob, so he's not really bothering too much at this moment in time. Does use a bit of ERS down the straight and will open the drag reduction system, but he's far enough behind Rob that I think that's another thing as well. He's maybe seen what's happened with Neymar and Scott earlier and thinks, I don't want to be right on the back of you, Rob, in case you have a moment, because that could easily send us both spinning.
But even then, I'm just doing math in my head. I know, because I think, what's his face? Tim Balls is still in it, so he could technically get back in this fight. So yeah, if they all crash, no clinch can still happen, because there's still a couple drivers that are still racing that could get enough points to stay alive. Well, that would be complicated math that we'll only do if we have to do it. But yeah, it's a situation right now that it's going to be interesting to see. But we do have some battles in the back, though. We do got AMG catching the back of Scott and using those softs, and Sway on the back of AMG, which is kind of interesting that he's still able to kind of hang on. But I think AMG is going to just pull away quickly here. And I think the McLaren Mercedes driver is definitely going to bump himself up to fourth relatively quickly here.
Yeah, certainly. One thing that we talk about the Drivers' Championship, going back to the Constructors, Red Bull have still got both of their cars in the race. They're not going to get any podiums, and I think they are going to see one of their cars get bumped down a place as AMG sets the fastest lap of the race, and he's going to fly his way past Scott Bugner there. So there we go, F1 AMG up into 4th position, but he's got himself 3 seconds of time penalties. All the drivers with 3 seconds apart from Dave and Charlie Harris. Dave on 6, Charlie Harris on 9, so yeah. Even then, we are going to see a Red Bull drop down ever so slightly, but they're still in this Constructors' Championship battle. That will carry on into the final 2 races of the season as Louis is trying to fight his way up the order. Scott now gets his first time penalty of the race as Louis versus Sonoda battling here. The debutant gets himself up into 10th place, or does he? Sonoda's trying to hang on those hard tyres, forces the McLaren into going over the curb and getting a penalty, but can't quite keep that move for now. So the only driver who's kept it clean with 8 laps to go, as things stand, he will be the champion. It is XL Zoidema. Rob in first place. I think Rob wouldn't be too bothered about the fact if he beats Zoidema on track, he's going to have that and say, yeah, I beat him on track. This is looking good for me to get second in the championship. And just racing with a bit more of that freedom now, because I think all the drivers are starting to realise it's going to take a miracle.
Yeah, no, and that could be a situation where you just, again, punt on the year and go for the next year. But something that catches my mind is you could say that is pretty much a metaphor right now of what the season's been right now, looking at the time penalties, where Zoidema has just been consistent and clean, and he's been able to kind of ride the storm while everyone else, no offense to Rob and Scott, have kind of shot themselves in the foot in some races and just been unlucky. And they've had the pace, they've just been unlucky. So it's a situation where I think you could say that right now with the penalty system, this is kind of a perfect metaphor of what the season's been. One of the things that's worth noting right now is Lewis Rox's light for fuel is on. It's yellow, which means he's underfueled the car, and he may be in a little bit of a situation where we may have to put it in a low mixture in order to bring that car home.
Yeah, and the lean mixture on this game is a lot worse than the lean mixture on previous games, and normally at this point in the race, you don't want to be that low on fuel. We'll see if he does any early lifting and coasting. No, still looks like he's pushing fairly hard at this moment in time. Perhaps just trying to see how close he can get up to the back of the drivers, or if he's not low by too much. As we just take a quick look at the TAS system, he's minus a quarter of a lap at the moment, so he's going to need to do some fairly aggressive fuel saving fairly soon, and he's not got a lot of ERS as well, so we could see his pace just drop off a cliff towards the end of this race. Sway battling with Charlie Harris. Charlie obviously with the softer tyres at this moment in time. Sway not able to hold on to that position, and I think he'll have his teammate all over the back of him before it's not too late. The Alpines having a better race this time around. They've had a couple of tough races, have them, but they've carried on in both races where possible. Tibos got 6 last time out. Sway finished in what was last place. They were the last 2 cars at Belgium, but things going slightly better after what was a tough qualifying.
Yeah, definitely going to rebound for qualifying there. And again, it's good to see him again work his way for the field there. Good rebound, good qualifying. But one of the things that caught my eye looking at the fuel things is Zoidema has a little bit more fuel in that car than... Oh, something happened.
Sorry to interrupt. I think the commentator's curse there. Sway spun it round in a very, very weird place. Halfway through sort of turn 17, turn 18. Didn't look anywhere near the curb. Whether he's caught that inside curb, and the cameraman angle didn't show me that. He's avoided the wall, but those tyres will resemble 50 pence pieces at this moment in time. He drops all the way down to 11th place, and I wonder whether he is, yeah, he is going to come into the pits, put on a set of the soft tyres. Quite a big moment there for Sway, but as we're carrying on about Zoidema and his fuel situation.
I was just going to say, I looked at his fuel. He's got more fuel in the car than Rob does. He's got well over about 30, like 0.30% more. So it's a situation where he has a higher fuel load, just up there in pace. It's not much. It's not like it's like 2, but it's still worth noting that he's got a little bit more fuel in that car. So just a bit interesting to note that he's a little bit faster down those straights per se than some other drivers around him, and he's carrying more fuel. Just kind of an interesting tidbit, you could say. But anyway, looking for the rest of the field, we do got Charlie Harris and Scott battling, both white Red Bulls fighting on track here. And it looks like Charlie Harris on those tires are going to make it work. So Scott just sinking because he's on old mediums and he's just trying to survive.
Yeah, certainly. I wonder if he's going to try and hang on to his teammate here. But Charlie, with the 9 seconds of penalties, might be better off just trying to go for his own race and trying to see how little positions can he lose at this moment in time. Further up, Tom, who's had a very lonely race at this moment in time, but is on for his best result of the season. He's now got it to within 4 seconds of the lead duo, but with 5 laps to go, tyre wear starting to perhaps become more equalised between them. He's on 27%, his worst tyre. Zoidema's worst is 38, and that's another thing that we've seen all season. Zoidema just seems to be slightly better on his tyres than everyone else. He's got about 7% less wear on them at the moment than Carwin Rob.
Yellow flag sector 2, I think that is a slow Sway, so it's Sway and Dave going a bit slow. Again, even if a safety car could come out now, it probably wouldn't be enough to pit, but it'd be enough to maybe give a quick little field neutralizer and maybe get Tom a chance. But yeah, Tom is slowly reeling him in. I think the buck stops there, though. But it's still been a great drive for a driver that's been consistent, but no podiums, like you said. On pace to get his first one, because even with time penalties, just to confirm, I think he only has, 3. And AMG has 3, so he's looking good at the very least to be getting his first podium here today.
Yeah, would be well deserved from Tom. He's been in every race so far this season, scored points in every race so far this season. His lowest finish has actually been 11th place. Quite a few of the drivers up the front of the order because of the way the point system works. It's basically, if you finish, barring a race where all 20 cars would finish, you would be guaranteed to get yourself points. But Tom has put in a very consistent performance, and with Tibos and Neymar actually not scoring any points at this moment in time, he would actually push himself up the order into 4th in the championship at this moment in time. So there's all this still battling going on for the places behind Zoidema, because with 4 laps to go, barring a penalty, barring an incident, it does look as though Zoidema is going to claim the title. Rob just leading this race though, 0.8 of a second ahead at this moment in time from Zoidema. Tom a further 3.5 seconds back. AMG, who had a qualifying ban, he is in 4th place. Then it is the Red Bulls, Tibos, Dresse, Lewis, Sonoda, Sway, Dave, your 12 runners, Neymar, the only retirement in that dramatic crash that very nearly took Scott out with him as well. And like you said earlier on, Zoidema, he's just happy to sit back at this moment in time. He's not too bothered about, even if he is going to go for the overtake, doesn't make sense for him to do it early on because Rob's going to fight back.
Yeah, it makes no sense to fight, so if he's going to buy this time, make the test, make it on the 6 or 7 or 8. You got better tire wear to make it work, so make your situation work on that front. But one more thought, just to go back to the standings real fast. It kind of is a shame that we do, in this TTML, do have a little bit of like a pro-reg situation to a degree, where bottom drivers get to motor, top drivers get, because of assist differences. That doesn't always the case. It's a situation where, honestly, it'd be kind of cool if you think of it like a soccer pyramid, where you got like Tom, Neymar, and the rest of the field fighting for maybe getting the last spot promotion, per se. And it'd be kind of an interesting thing to at least look for the last couple rounds, where maybe the championship may be decided, but there's still a lot of groveling and fighting between Neymar, Tomid, maybe Rob and Scott as well, fighting for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, respectively.
Yeah, there's definitely that pride element as well, getting the runner-up in the championship, especially perhaps against a man who's sort of been as dominant as Zoidema is this season. It reminds me of the Schumacher days, where you were thinking, well, I finished 2nd, but it was to Michael Schumacher, so it's not too bad, to be perfectly honest. Lewis has managed to get his way ahead of Dresse there. We did have a very brief yellow flag, but I'm not sure that was just Dresse backing off ever so slightly, and that is Lewis who gets himself up into 8th place. 3 laps to go. Still, Zoidema on the back of Carwin Rob, but if we check how many warnings he's got, still only on the 1 warning at this moment in time. One man who might have to be, well, actually looking at the gap, he doesn't have to be too careful. I was about to say Tom, he's only 1 warning away from another penalty, so he can afford to, push a bit harder if he wants to, though, as he's got a 7-second gap behind him. Likewise, Tibos with that massive gap behind him of 11 seconds back to Lewis, who must be kicking himself ever so slightly. Just got caught out by by Charlie Harris, I should say. Could have done with him being up the order towards the front of this race, because having 3 cars at the front, Zoidema wouldn't have been able to relax behind, because he'd have had a McLaren desperate to get the move done, and that might have just injected a bit more action. We've had plenty of midfield battling in the second half of this race, but not so much at the front.
Yeah, because once Neymar, as Duga, you'll fight sector 1 again, that is dressed going a bit slow. But once Neymar and Gott had that slight little tunt of that kind of caused 2 drivers to be out. It was basically 5 cars at the front, 2 were taken out in that collision, and then you have the situation where Louis ran into the back of, I believe it was Tibos, after the first pit stops, and that threw him out of contention as well. So it basically became a 2-horse race, and that is not what Rob wanted, because Rob needed that pressure or that fighting in order to get himself some distance. But yeah, so Edmund could just kind of tuck behind. And with 2 to go, one other thing worth noting is both McLaren's fuel lights are on. So someone at McLaren has really underfueled those cars. And even though it's a virtual video game, they may be a little bit concerned, because there could be a situation where Vettel at Hungary, where the car's too underfueled, Tom may end up losing his own podium virtually if that was a situation that could happen. Yeah, we saw Tom there short shifting about 10,000 revs. He's only about 0.05 as he comes out to the braking zone for turn number 1. It does change down the straight, so maybe worth him just taking a very chilled final lap. His teammate needs about half a lap extra of fuel as Colin Rob's round. Oh, yes. Base leader on track goes round. That surely, no matter what, secures the title for Zoidema. And now Tom has to really think about saving fuel, because he might be on for second place here. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say 0.9. He's now down to 0.4. He could probably make it. But Rob just trying his hardest. I can't even blame him, because he was just going for it. He knew he had to try something to get 3 clear or championship over. So he just tried it all he could do. And sadly, the car snuck back on him. That's all that happens sometimes. You can't blame him for trying, though. And he may have egg on his face, but I'll at least tip my hat for at least him trying something. Yeah, might be on the podium over soon as well. He's now got AMG still on a very good set of soft tyres behind him. Both of them pretty low on ERS. Is AMG going to be close enough to send one into turn 12? Just runs out of space ever so slightly, but this could be the battle to watch. Sonoda picks up a time penalty all of a sudden, so he's a long way down the order. We have got I've got another yellow flag there. I think that's just Dave having a bit of moment coming through turns number 19 and 18, just taking it very easy at this moment in time, perhaps knowing that if he gets lapped, he doesn't have to do an extra lap in this race. Tom, fair play to him. He's really done well on those soft tyres. He's got within 2 seconds of Zoidema, and not quite made it, but if we'd have seen a bit more battling at the front of the field, he could have got up there. Does have to, as you see now, the red fuel light flashing, because with 1 lap to go, he's got 1 lap of fuel remaining as Sway and Tsunoda battle for 10th. I don't think he's going to make. He's at 0.11 right now. He should be able to limp it. It's got a big enough gap with Rob, so the situation will be okay. Rob and AMG fighting for the last podium as well. I think Sway and Sonoda are still fighting. They were fighting earlier in this race, and they're going to fight to the end of this race. But it's a situation where I was going to say, I thought about it. It's shades of Belgium, where Scott kind of shot himself in the foot with a penalty, and you can see the incident was today was shot himself with a penalty. And then Rob, coming near the end, looked good, and then had a mistake on the last lap. Here with 2 laps to go, made a mistake. As you off like sector 2, that is near it, but that's just Dave going slow, so don't think the leader has made a mistake. But coming down at least sector 2, Tom needs to save just a bit more fuel, but there is no way Louis makes it to the end on that tank. He's going to be sputtering somewhere in sector 2. Yeah, even Dressé is actually pretty low on fuel, so this circuit proving to be a bit high fuel usage at this moment in time, with 3 cars struggling ever so slightly at this moment in time. Corbin Rob, he's struggling on his ERS here, and AMG might be able to make a move all the way around the outside into turn number 12. The Ferrari is going to try and hold on those older medium tyres, and fair play, he is fighting for all his worth. AMG down the inside, a bit of wheel banging, a bit of hand shaking out of the cockpit, but I think AMG should have that move done. No! Rob's going to try and fight back there. Both of them give each other enough room. AMG's got the inside line for the next corner. That should be the position sorted. Tom's got a 10-second time penalty, but it is Zoidema who takes the victory and takes the championship here in TTML F2. I think it's going to be AMG. Might actually end up getting second place here, and Corbin Rob might still get on the podium. It is AMG who takes second, Corbin Rob third, Tom there. Been running out of fuel right at the end. Perhaps a very harsh 10-second penalty that might get looked at by the stewards. He finishes 4th. Charlie Travis goes down to 6th. Scott 5th. Tibos misses out on 6th by 4 thousandths of a second. Got the rest of the finishers coming in as well. But it is Zoidema, 4th win of the season out of the first 8 races. A well-deserved champion. kind of want to hug Tom. I'll get those on him in a second. I want to hug Tom kindly. He was this close to getting his first podium, and that happened. That is just a kick in the teeth. And he gets another 10, I think, as well. That is definitely probably going to get removed because that's kind of a buggy one. But that is just sad. But anyway, though, Zoidman, though, not going to take away from Zoida's championship celebration. Get the confetti out. There's sadly, no cutscene in game, which is kind of sad. But it's a situation where get the confetti out, get the champagne. That is Zoidman's championship. Let him sing proud from the top of the mountaintops. He is your champion, and all hail the Williams driver.
Yeah, certainly. Fantastic job by Zoidman there on the podium. We're so used to it. 7th time we've seen him on the podium this season. Great result in the end by AMG. Had that qualifying ban. Come home to take 2nd place, and Carvin Rob, he takes 3rd. Slightly gutting for him, but still looking pretty good for that 2nd place in the championship. As we have a look at the race results, it is Zoidman, only driver to keep it clean. Well-deserved victory to take the championship. AMG and Carvin Rob 2nd and 3rd. Tom just missing out on the podium because of that penalty there. We saw his teammate getting one, and both of those drivers ran out of fuel, so I imagine we will see them get that removed. We'll talk about that next week. Scott comes home in 5th, and good recovery after that first lap. First stint incident. He must be thinking what could have been. Charlie in 6th, Tibos 7th, Dresse 8th, Sway 9th with the fastest lap, Sonoda, Lewis and Dave the final finishers. Neymar, the only retirement from a very intriguing, I think we could say. Not necessarily, again, the most on-track action as you would expect with the field spreading out as it was, but there was all the penalty situations for different tyres working out, and a lot of drivers making mistakes.
Yeah, it was a situation where drivers made mistakes there, and it seemed like the only driver that kept it relatively mistake-free was Zoidman. That's why he's your champion. But yeah, it's a situation where sometimes you can be your own worst enemy, or sometimes someone else may be your own worst enemy. And yeah, it was a mistake kind of filled race here today, and hopefully they can kind of clean it up next week for Brazil, per se.
Yeah, Brazil, I always love the Brazilian race. You've just got to, because everything's slightly, end of the season, there's always that late vibes as well. As we've seen here, championships have been decided, so the drivers might just be a little more relaxed and thinking, you know what, we might as well just go for it at this moment in time. We've got nothing to lose all of a sudden, but there is still the Constructors' Championship battle, which I think Williams will have maybe kept their lead about the same over Red Bull. Mercedes with a good recovery there from AMG, but it looks like that championship could be up there at the end of the race. As we're hearing some rumours, there was a bit of teamwork between the Red Bull drivers there, with Scott holding Matt up to try and block Tibos from getting ahead of him. So we'll have to wait and see if there is anything with that about the stewards. I think they are going to have plenty of work to do, perhaps, in the stewards' office, but we're going to get the drivers' interviews on the way then. For the 8th time this season, we're going to drag the drivers in there now, and I think it is only fair we start off with the new TTML F2 champion, Zoidman. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Congratulations on taking the championship. Another fantastic performance from yourself today, where keeping it clean proved to be all important.
Yeah, it's the story of the season, I guess. Just the only one that can keep it clean and keep it consistent. I don't know. Normally I'm not really good at USA, but I don't know. This was probably one of my better races out of consistency and pace as well. Rob was a bit quicker than me though, so I think if there was no DRS, he would have just drove away from me. So fair play to him for having that pace.
McLaren driver obviously had an incident. Just you two at the front of the field. Were you concentrating on staying behind Rob? Were you that bothered about going for the victory on track, knowing you'd get it on penalties?
Like I said, he was quicker than me. I had to really try to even stay in his DRS. But obviously, when at the end of the race, if I had a chance, I wanted to win on track anyway. I would have gone for it. But yeah, like I said, he was quicker than me. I gave everything to stay in his DRS.
Now, I'll let Pepsi go over and see if he's got any questions for you.
I do actually have 2 questions instead of the original one. First one would be, is that if we go back to the early stint there where Neymar and Scott had their little tussle, what was kind of going through your head in that situation? Because you were in that train and you saw what happened. So take us through what you were thinking when you saw that.
I didn't really see what exactly happened. I just saw 2 cars spinning and I was just hoping to avoid it. And at that point, later I saw it was Scott as well, and then I realized like this is only me. I can only lose it at this moment. So that was going through my head. So I just had to keep it clean for the rest of the race.
That's what we kind of saw there as well. And the second question is that you are now technically a champion, bearing any unforeseen penalties. So I guess your question is how they do at the end of the Super Bowl. It's like, what are you going to do now? So I guess the question is, you just won a championship. What are you going to do now?
Maybe hopefully I can do something again. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about what doing next, to be honest.
Humble as always. So hopefully we'll let you do something and celebrate or whatever. But congratulations on your championship.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, congratulations, Aiden. A fantastic victory today to take the championship. We haven't got AMG in. I don't believe we are going to get him. So we're going to go to the man who finished in third place. Another podium for this season. Keeps himself definitely well in the hunt for that runners-up spot in the championship. It is Carwin Rob. A great performance from yourself in that race. Just that slight mistake at the end costing you, in the end, second position.
First off, it's well under Zoidema on the championship. Just a dominant season, really, wasn't it? But yeah, I'm frustrated with myself, to be honest. Could have been an easy second, but the tyres were just gone on lap 27, and I just lost in the first sector.
Were you, I mean, yourself and Zoidem are pitted on the same lap. Were you tempted to maybe go one lap longer, or is the undercut just too powerful around this place?
I don't know, I was tempted, because but I thought I'll follow him in because my tyres were on like 50-odd% at the end of the day. So I thought the undercut was just going to be too powerful. But then after seeing the McLaren, he only came out like wheel to wheel with me. So maybe if I did stay out an extra lap, I would have been able to get out the Zoidema's DRS and maybe pull away with the 3 seconds.
Yeah, would have been interesting to see, of course. Pepsi, do you have any questions for Rob?
I think there's one on my mind. It's gonna be, I guess I could say is simply this, is that it's heartbreaking what happened here today. You sadly see the championship kind of go up in smoke. But I guess with 2 rounds left to go, what are you gonna set yourself up to now? What's your game plan for the final 2 races now that the championship sadly is out of contention?
Stay in front of Scott. I know he's a really quick driver. I think he's third place, isn't he?
He is. So I was just wanting to see you're going to try to set on getting second in the standings, which is good to see. You're going to keep at least that spirit going for the final rounds. But I guess we'll see you, and hopefully we can see you here again for the final 2 rounds and maybe even get a win for one of the last 2 rounds.
It was definitely a confidence boost because the previous rounds I haven't been really motivated because I've just been slow. I haven't been getting podiums, and I don't know, I just felt good in the car. But today was definitely a confidence boost.
Well, that is good to hear your confidence is slowly coming back. And like I said, hope we can see you here again in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations to Rob on getting his 3rd podium of the season. And congratulations to Zoidema, 2 victories in a row, 4 for the season. And he is the TTML F2 Season 5 champion. That is pretty much it for this stream today. Brazil and Abu Dhabi are going to be the final 2 races. And drivers now they've got that extra bit of freedom. They don't have to think about the championship. A lot of them weren't doing anyway. And Abu Dhabi is one of those that on the game can produce good races. In real life, not so much. But Brazil, whether it is virtual or the real world, always seems to have exciting racing.
Yeah, it does. Brazil definitely for sure. Abu Dhabi, it's a track I vein my existence with in this game. Never can drive it, but hopefully the driver's a little bit more skilled than me can provide some good racing out of it.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why both of us are in the commentary box and not out on the circuit. But if you're watching this and thinking, well, I could maybe head out there on the circuit, make sure to check out the TTML Discord. Sign-ups are open until the end of the month for season number 6. That is the calendar. And as you can see, we are experimenting with some sprint qualifying in Imola and France. It will be a one-shot qualifying and then a 25% race at those 2 circuits before a normal 50% race. And that is pretty much it, though, for this stream. Make sure to check out League Racing TV for the rest of the TTML action tomorrow night at 8 PM for F4 with Conti and Storm, and then F5 with Pariah and Buck. There's also CWC action and BNL action to keep you entertained in the week. All the rest is found on the YouTube channel as well. And myself and Pepsi will be back alongside F1, F3 next week for round number 9 of the championship. The penultimate round of the season. Zoidema has already claimed the Drivers' Championship. Can he make it a Constructors' double at the Interlagos circuit? You'll have to tune in a week's time to find out. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.